Heartiest congratulations to SABERA on the 6th edition.
Next time, let's have an all-women team so that more people can get attached to it and the impact will become bigger.
To be able to actually see cross-collaboration.
They could really benefit a lot from the SABERA's network on the innovation and philanthropic model.
We've had very large organizations, Maharatna PSUs, actually come up on stage and say this.
You're amazing. You're just amazing.
Thanks to SABERA, and they've been supporting them over the years.
Namaste and a very warm welcome to another very beautiful episode of Social Impact Leaders Simply with Suparnaa. We have a beautiful guest here with us, and what makes her so beautiful is her contribution to making India more beautiful, more sustainable in terms of giving education to the most marginalized students from the remotest part of the country. But more about her in a bit. I'd like to start with my obeisance to the higher power. As you know, I'd like to जिसको कहते हैं नमन करना शक्ति को, and we'll start with the Saraswati Vandana, a very old Sanskrit verse that talks about dispelling the darkness of ignorance that resides in our hearts. हमारे जो दिल के अंदर अंधकार है उसको प्रज्वलित करने के लिए to lighten that up with the knowledge of wisdom, ज्ञान के प्रकाश से उसको उज्ज्वलित करे. या कुंदेन्दु तुषार हार धवला, या शुभ्र वस्त्रावृता, या वीणावर दंड मंडित करा, या श्वेत पद्मासना, या ब्रह्मच्युत शंकर प्रभूति भी देवै सदा वंदिता, Samam Patu Saraswati Bhagavati Nishesh Jagyapaha. Well, without much further ado, I'd like to very proudly introduce the SABERA Awardee, somebody who's been acknowledged by the SABERA 2023 jury as a change maker, Dr. Sudha Kidao. Her journey began humbly raising small donations from family and friends for the Foundation for Excellence. Her association dates back close to 2 decades with the organization, and she started contributing or volunteering during her PhD in biotechnology career in the US. Under her guidance, FFE has introduced transformative components such as skills training and mentorship, aiming to empower scholarship recipients not only financially, but also academically and professionally. और आज जो फाउंडेशन फॉर एक्सीलेंस है वो ऐसे बच्चों को सपोर्ट कर रहा है जो कि बहुत ही ब्राइट है बट बहुत ही डिफिकल्ट बैकग्राउंड से आए हुए हैं, एंड दे आर प्रमोटिंग engineering, medicine, pharmacy, and law for these students across 28 states and 4 union territories. So literally from the length of the country to the breadth of the country, they're identifying bright students from difficult backgrounds and giving them an opportunity to change their entire generation that comes forward. And a lot of them are first generation literates. We'll get to know a lot more about what Foundation for Excellence does, but let me first thank you for what you're doing, Dr. Sudha.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Suparnaa, for the very generous introduction. I'm delighted, I'm honored, and I'm privileged to be here and to have been awarded the SABERA Changemaker Award. It's humbling, and I'm happy to be here.
Super. Let's start with, what does Well, I have understood a little bit about what Foundation for Excellence does, and the jury was extremely impressed with the work, and that's why they have bestowed this trophy onto you. But can you tell us simply what is it that Foundation for Excellence does?
Uh, yes. So the Foundation for Excellence, it's this year is going to be our 30th year of existence, and the mission is very straightforward and simple. It is to bring about a transformation in the lives of students who are very bright, gifted, talented, but come from financially disadvantaged backgrounds. And the mission is to bring about a transformative change in a single generation. And the way that mission is accomplished is through this merit and means scholarship program, where students are awarded scholarships because they qualify by rank and qualify by family income. And the foundation is committed to supporting such students through their entire journey of higher education, with our focus, like you said, Suparna, in four streams: engineering and medicine primarily, and we have a small cohort of students pursuing law in India, as well as even smaller cohort of students in pharmacy. And the transformation actually happens after students graduate and go on to get those jobs that they've always dreamt about.
Okay,
And
we'll know a little bit more about that, but I want to understand how is it that so they take these competitive exams. How is it that FFE identifies that this is going to be a student that we will support? Is it that they need to apply, and when they apply, then what are the qualifying factors?
yes. I think you bring up a very important question. So students, we find that most of our students 75% come from rural or semi-rural backgrounds. They are probably the first generation learners, and they have decided without any coaching that they want to be a professional. They want to pursue professional education in India. And so they have no support system. They've used their own resources, studied for these highly competitive exams, got a fabulous rank, and have been admitted into college. And they are in the first semester of college. They've managed to muster resources to pay their fees. And how have they got that far is just through an online application form. So they are in the first semester, they paid their fee, and they're now trying to figure out how do I manage the rest 3.5, 4 years, or 5 years in the case of medicine. And so it's a simple online application. When you do a Google search, you'll find the Foundation for Excellence application form. Like I mentioned, every student has to qualify by these two criteria, which means we look at their rank for each of these exams, for the competitive exams: JE, it could be a common entrance test, CUET, and a NEET for medicine, CLAT for law. And students then have to submit a large number of documents. We have a very stringent way of verifying family background information to make sure that an income certificate that is submitted by the student actually is the right information about the genuineness of need of that family. And if we have time, I can tell you a little bit more of how that is done. Other ways by which students get to know about the foundation is in many of the colleges, since we've been there for 30 years, we have built relationships with some of the institutions, and we send them flyers, which goes up on their notice boards. Students, seniors tell their juniors. Many of them also publish and amplify the scholarship program in the communities that they come from. One very important partner group that we work with are other NGOs. We work with about 50 NGOs on the ground, and most of these NGOs work with students in government schools and they are studying up to grade 12. And when those students qualify for qualify for our scholarships, they feed into our scholarship program. So we work with all these feeder partners where we know that these students are truly deserving. And we have a fantastic network of over 700 volunteers that we've built over the years in the 28 states in India. And they are able to amplify this in the communities where they belong. So it's multiple ways. This year, I'm very happy that while we have grown, we've got 33,000 applications.
Wow.
and it's through social media and WhatsApp messages that go to all parts of the country, and we just don't have the funds to support them. So like I mentioned, every student who comes into our program is supported for 4 and 5 years, and so we need sufficient funds to see them through their education and then beyond.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because just yesterday I watched the movie 12th Fail, and that
Yes.
totally kind of puts this whole conversation into context and perspective as to how, a young student from a very, very humble and a difficult background in Chambal actually manages in his fourth attempt to crack the IPS, the UPSC exam, and what his entire journey was and how he reaches there. And it would be extremely heartbreaking if he wouldn't have the monies to continue that education given his background and given his journey. So this totally kind of makes sense with what you're doing. But I want to understand from you, when FFE started, who started Foundation for Excellence, and what were their compulsions to start something like this?
I'm very happy you're asking this question because we have a really visionary founder, Dr. Prabhu Goyal, and his wife, Mrs. Poonam Goyal. Uh, Prabhu is an alumnus of IIT Kanpur, and he went on to do his PhD at Carnegie Mellon. He did very well. He was a student of excellence. I mean, he just excelled throughout. He was a President's Gold Medal at IIT Kanpur, did very well at Carnegie Mellon, had a career at IBM, got awards for innovation and excellence. And he started a company called Gateway Design Automation in the US, which very quickly got acquired by Cadence. And like Prabhu says, he and his family came upon a lot of wealth while they were quite young. They had a young family at that time. He was very, when he talks about his own journey, he says he comes from a very humble family, 7 siblings, and he had a lot of support while he was growing up. Everybody rallied around him and supported his own ambition of becoming an engineer. And when he came upon a lot of wealth, he said, "This is what I would like to do." And the genesis of the Foundation for Excellence was in 1994. And so we are celebrating our 30th year this year. It was established. It was established in the US, and a lot of friends and family and the Goyals themselves contributed, sufficiently to help start the organization. And the Goyals continue to contribute financially every year for the last 30 years. Which is a very, and I think it's very, very heartening to see, the will and the desire and the continuing ambition for the foundation to do well with their backing. So the foundation's, the mission was set. It was the scholarship program to help students like he felt like him, who had a need, were very bright and needed support. And so the mission was clearly defined. The organization started in 94. Students were only supported in India. Students did well, got jobs, and they wanted to give back. And there was no entity for Indians in India to pay forward. And that's when the Foundation for Excellence India Trust, the Indian entity, got established in 2003. So then the students who graduated, got jobs, who we now are alumni, began to contribute to the foundation. And
Super.
The reason, yes.
No,
Please.
so while FFE, we've understood what Mr. Goyal had in mind to give back to the country, the soil that he
Yes.
was born on, and
Yes.
to help other children who came from difficult backgrounds. Of
Yes.
course, that is extremely noble thought, and I'm sure everybody starts small, and it's over a period of time that people start coming together for the cause. And you too are one of those individuals that came along with the cause. But I want to know what your compulsions were as well, considering that you may have also had a very successful innings in the US while you were doing research in biotechnology, and as you told me that you were doing research on HIV vaccines, etc. What is it that kind of was your driving force?
Thanks for asking that question, because this is something that I think, over the course of time, I felt like, I had a career. It was satisfying, but I began to question the whole idea of, is it meaningful? And that came from the fact that my husband and I, while we were in the US, we were donors and continue to be donors to the Foundation for Excellence, and we were supporting girls in Tamil Nadu. And when we through for engineering and medicine, and when we made our trip to India every year, we would tell the foundation we'd like to meet the students we're supporting. And that was the game changer, when you saw the students and you saw the girls and their families, and what a difference that we felt that we had made. And from their own words, that this was, our contribution seemed so minimal compared to what they were doing to ensure their success. So we felt like this was the least we could do. And when we moved to India in 2007, I did ask, should I continue with my biotech career? Or should I be doing something different? And it was very clear to me that it was time to do something that I thought meaningful. And I said, let me see what we can do for the Foundation for Excellence. And that's when my journey began. I began to volunteer my time here, and I continue to do that. Full time, I'm completely committed to this cause, because I see the difference that it has made to thousands of lives, and made possible by thousands of individuals, all lots and lots of donors of multiple colors and different parts of the world, making, all wanting to do good, and in whatever manner possible. And this seemed like you could see impact at the end of a short period of time, 4 to 5 years, when kids just graduate, shine, happy, taking care of their families, and you can see visually that there's a difference that you made.
And also, you were telling me about this unique concept about how, after they have graduated and they have found their jobs and they're settled and they're looking after their families, but they want to contribute back to the trust, to Foundation for Excellence. It's almost like a circle of giving. And, a self-sustainable kind of a model is coming around, where you don't have to look for donations from anywhere else except the alumni themselves.
That's right. So this is a fantastic model that was thought through very well, where the concept of paying forward or giving back is inculcated in students when they get that scholarship. So every student signs a soft pledge that every scholarship recipient says that they will, when they're successful, they become self-reliant, will be able to, they pledge to support the education of at least 2 students by making a contribution to the foundation. And we have alumni today who are all over the world, and many contribute financially. There are at least 1 in 3 today contribute either financially, they are mentors to students, or they help find students for us. Many of our alumni are in some of the companies where we found that there are 44 of them in, for example, Robert Bosch. And they did not know each other. They are in different campuses. Somebody's in Germany, somebody's in Coimbatore, in Chennai, in Bangalore. And we were able to bring them together, and because their common history is the FFE scholarship. They were supported by FFE different times, different years, and this is their common history. And when we spoke to Robert Bosch has been a consistent supporter of the foundation for so many years. And so alumni, what I'm trying to say is, alumni, while they give direct contributions, they talk to their own networks, they talk to the companies where they work, and we get CSR funds as well today, thanks to the efforts of our alumni. And our alumni are, like I mentioned, all over the world. A large number of them are in India, doing very successful and very, very conscientiously trying to make a difference to the foundation and to their communities, to their families. That is almost a given. And
I can draw parallels with other impactful organizations. If I, one that comes to my mind immediately, even though it's very small, but it has a similar kind of a background. Um, the Kranti Foundation, if you remember the
Okay.
anchor for
Yes.
Sabera at that
Yes.
time, Shraddha.
Yes.
So while they're a very small organization and they focus on the depth more than the breadth
Yes.
of impact, um, it's a lot of the beneficiaries, the girls from red light areas who have been emancipated by the help of the foundation, actually come back to support the foundation again.
Yes. Yes.
So,
And
for the
volunteer.
girls and
Yes.
volunteer. Yes,
Yes.
I think that makes a lot of sense and a lot of difference also because it's a validation for the organization's impact.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And they're the role models. So students always, we find that our students saying, oh, look, I mean, we have alumni telling students, I was where you were. And through FFE, I've come here. And today, I'm the team lead at Cognizant. I have 14 people reporting to me. I have, I have got my parents, I was able to send my siblings to college. I've been able to give my parents a good home. I'm also contributing to FFE. So this is exactly what the next gen needs to hear, that
Yeah.
everything matters and nothing's too big, nothing's too small. Certainly nothing's too small.
There is
And
one little point of concern when I look up the work that FFE does is
yes,
that the beneficiaries essentially are not gender equitable. I'm not saying that you consciously do that, but why is it that three-fourths of the students who are benefiting from the scholarships and the handholding that FFE are doing are boys, and only one-fourth are girls?
I it's a lot to do with our school system as well in India. We find that 55% of the students who are taking humanities in 11th and 12th, 55% are girls. So they've dropped out of STEM, the STEM courses even earlier. And the reason there are a couple of reasons. One is, of course, we often hear about when adolescent girls, they often have issues about school, lack of toilets, lack of, products. It's generally not an environment that they're happy with, and parents then want to keep them back. The other thing is, girls tend to think that if they were interested in STEM, it is expensive. It is an expensive course, in college. So if the parent has to choose between which siblings, there's a boy in the family, often the boy gets that advantage. And it simply is the case with the girls will take for the less to the less expensive option, if I can call it that. Even though they may be talented, they may be interested in pursuing STEM. So the number of students after grade 8, the girls who make it to STEM courses in college is is very, very low. So the other thing is, the gross enrollment ratio in India for higher education is 27%, which means 27 out of 100 only make it to higher education, tertiary education. And out of that, the girls in STEM is a really small number. Then
Yeah.
girls from disadvantaged families pursuing STEM, you can imagine what those numbers are. So we do what we can to get the word out. Our number of women students every year has increased. We are making concerted efforts to make sure that girls are aware of this scholarship. We are working with schools to make sure from 8th grade, girls are aware that there is a program, there is a scholarship that they can count on if they did well academically, that will take them through college. So we have to create awareness and confidence that they're not going to be left in the lurch. There are resources that they can tap into if they're talented, and organizations like FFE will stand behind them, not just financially, but like I mentioned, we provide skills training for employability. We have a very strong mentoring program, internship support, placement support, whatever we can provide so that they are successful and they can go on and shine. And the big gap in girls begins even earlier, so they don't even make it to college.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad because when we look at the numbers, there are girls that are topping the 10th and the 12th boards, etc. But it's sad. What I'm hearing from you is that the option of STEM as a course forward kind of falls down, and one of the contributing factors is the expense of the education. So if a family has to choose, then they would think that a boy could be a breadwinner for them in the future, so it's better
Yes.
to put them rather than a
Yes.
girl. And there is also an intersectionality of things, because even if we look at say Delhi IIT,
Yes.
and with children across not just very difficult background but across all sectors of society, then there's only a handful of girls that are there
Yes.
as opposed to the boys there. Is that
Absolutely.
correct? Yeah.
That is correct. That is correct. And so you also have to remember that, the kinds of kids that we support, girls and boys, are students who don't have usually access for coaching. I'm so sorry, the expenses involved with coaching for these exams, and that starts pretty early, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th. Kids are getting ready for these exams, and they come from families that can't afford this, these additional expenses. So those who often we support are either provided this coaching through other NGOs, or they are resourceful enough to have done a lot of this on their own through their friends network, what have you, to have come this far. So these are kids who are very determined, very bright, and self-reliant, and there's no other support that they can find, in their homes, in their communities, because they are first-time learners. So these are very special students who really go on to make a difference. And are
Also,
determined.
if I were to ask you of any anecdote, especially involving a girl,
Yes.
uh, a beneficiary from Kranti, sorry, from FFE, uh, what is it that you would, are there any stories that you can share?
Amazing stories, and I think every one of them is very inspiring. So one of them I recall very clearly she comes from northern Karnataka. A father is a farmer and mother is a homemaker, and she gets into one of the good engineering colleges here in Bangalore. Is an FFE scholarship recipient, does very well here, works for an MNC, did very well here, decided she wanted to do an MBA, and from one of the top universities in the US. She goes on to get, go on. She goes on to do very well, gets the MBA, and probably had a teaching assistantship or some kind of assistance at that point, and stayed out in the US for some time, got a good experience. And she posts these beautiful pictures of her parents in Venice, in Rome. She's taking them for a holiday, and she gives back to the foundation. She's come back to India and is thriving in one of the MNCs. So this is
Wow.
such a typical story, and she was very clear and very proud that she was the first one from her village to have become an engineer as a woman. She said she has inspired several other kids in yes, in her village, in her community, and shown them that she also went to the local government school that is still there, and that was her background that she took to the next level, and is the role model for generations of young people, literally
Wow.
generations. And so
I'm getting actually goosebumps when you're talking about this. Imagine if somebody is
yes,
working,
and
and it's a. I'm sure that must be your sense of fulfillment, and that keeps you attached to the organization. And if you were to talk about this to the younger generation, that the development sector is also an option in terms of career. Earlier one would imagine, and I'm circling back to what Sanish, the lead human development person from Invest India, said at SABERA on the power panel, saying that earlier one would imagine that development sector would only be philanthropic kind of ventures, whereas there is a career that can be made out of the development sector as well, as far as the younger ones are concerned.
I completely agree with you, and I think a lot of kids these days are questioning. Am I? Is this the best way I can spend my time? Is it only going to be my career? And this is a fantastic career option now. It was more in its nascent stages maybe 10 years ago. There are a lot of leadership courses. My organization, Foundation for Excellence, has lots of our team members who've had a corporate life, and they bring the rigor and the experience of being in the corporate world to the nonprofit sector, but with a lot more empathy, and working, because you're working with people who need help, and you need to have the right mindset for that. Things may be a little slower, but it's very, very meaningful, gratifying, satisfying, and you often wonder why didn't I figure this out earlier? I would encourage as many people to explore the sector as a career option. There's a huge need. There's a need for new ideas, for leaders, and there are a lot of options, today, for people who want to transition from corporate to the nonprofit sector. Leadership courses, so that you fully understand what you're getting into. And anybody who's been in the sector stays in the sector for very good reason, because nothing can quite compensate for the deep sense of happiness and fulfillment that comes from working in the sector. Not to deny the fact that other sectors provide this as well, but perhaps it's a little different here.
Yeah, sure. I'm grateful for your time. And if there is any parting note that you want to share with the audiences, please go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to say thank you, Sabera, for giving me this platform, giving the Foundation for Excellence this platform, for the recognition for our work. It has been, it's been a long journey. It's lots of challenges. But it's wonderful to see that last year we were able to support 13,000 students. This year we'll be closer to 15,000. We are one of the largest nonprofit organizations in the higher education space in India. And we would like to get more people into our family, more students into our family. We are always looking to see how best we can partner and make a difference together with our partners. So thank you very much.
There is a question that Rucha has posed to you. Does FFE also have an option for people working in the corporate sector to volunteer?
Yes, and that's a very good question. We have lots of opportunities, the big one being mentoring, where you can mentor students one-on-one. When students are mature enough to handle mentoring, because it's a professional from industry who's giving time, and is usually in the third year of engineering and the third year of the law program. And we have a structured mentoring program. You have access to provide webinars, skills training for employability, soft skills, technical skills, company visits, internships, summer projects. The list is endless. Lots of opportunities and sustained engagement. It's wonderful because when I say sustained over a period of a few months, you can see the difference that you've made.
So how is it that one who would want to get associated as a volunteer or as a donor, how does one go about it?
One way is, of course, our website, and I'm also happy to share our team's emails, so that in a scholarship, how does anybody apply for a scholarship, a mentorship, donations, any kind of volunteering opportunity. All of that is on our website, which is www.ffefoundationforexcellence.org. And I'm happy, to send that link to you, Suparnaa, so that we can amplify this message and get as many people involved, and really make a difference together.
Super. Thank you so much. More power to you, more power to Foundation for Excellence, and more power to the students that you're supporting, that are actually circling back and supporting other students and making them this a whole self-sustainable environment. And as a parting note, I also want to share that I think a lot of the students who actually crack these exams tend to look at foreign soils to build their careers and never really come back. But it's because of the tier 2, tier 3 towns where students have done their engineering, is because of why India actually landed onto the moon through the Chandrayaan mission. And we would love, there are more students who contribute back to the country, to the soil that they have been born on, that has given them the opportunity to grow and flourish.
Yes.
With that positive note, I'll take your leave, and please do share the links with us while we
Yes.
post this later on. We will also share those so that people
All right.
can get connected to you.
Yes. Thank you so very much, Suparnaa. Thank you.
Thank you, and God bless.
Thanks.